It is Graham here, still living the dream in 2019 in the beautiful, gorgeous Sandals Grande Antigua. Sadly not, folks, I could only dream of being back on that fantastic beach in Antigua. And in fact, Antigua is sort of a distant memory now. It's been about 4 or 5 weeks since we get back to here in Liv'n from Antigua. I've actually been back across Atlantic to California, and that video series will be coming up very, very shortly. But I'm afraid this is going to be the last video in the Antigua 19 series. I'm going to dedicate this video to Michael and Donna Nevin. Michael, for some reason, loves these full motion videos. He likes me to try and stitch all of the video components together into one long video. I'm going to try it again this year, Michael. Let's see what happens with this one. Unfortunately, folks, Donna and Michael aren't going back to Sandals Grande Antigua in 2020 like we are. 2020? That just doesn't seem to sound right. 2020? Yeah, 2020, whatever. While Fiona and I are currently booked to go back to Sandals Grande Antigua in October 2020, Donna and Michael have chosen to book the Halcyon in St. Lucia. A little bit more about that later. So in this final video in the Antigua 19 series, I'm planning to do a final wrap-up report on what Fiona and I thought about Sandals Grande Antigua, and then go straight in to the full motion picture where I stitch all of the video components together from our video diary series. That was part 1 to part 3 of Antigua 19. First of all, I'm going to make a cup of coffee and then head up to the cupboard that I call an office, and that'll be in a few minutes, or in video terms, a few seconds after this introduction. Okay, as you can see, I'm back in my study here in Liv'n, and I wanted to do a quick wrap up of what Fiona and I really thought of Sandals Grande Antigua during our visit in October 2020. Look, folks, we actually enjoyed it so much that Fiona and I have booked to go back in October 2020. But it does leave us with a dilemma, because our great friends Donna and Michael have actually booked to go back to the Sandals Halcyon in St. Lucia in the same week during October 2020. Looking at our British Airways executive bookings page online, I can see that Sandals still haven't booked our flights to Antigua next year, and therefore we're actually wondering, should we change it to the Halcyon in St. Lucia and be with Donna and Michael? Still trying to decide that, folks, so keep watching for further updates. It goes without saying that the beach at Sandals Grande Antigua, without a doubt, defines the resort. It is another fantastic, beautiful sandals resort in the Caribbean. It is beautifully maintained, the staff are fantastic, and really that's why Fiona and I keep going back year in, year out to Sandals. However, Sandals isn't perfect. Those of you who go back to Sandals like Fiona and I on a regular basis will probably dispute, is it really a 5-star resort? In fact, I recently received an email from Sandals talking about them being awarded their 5 stars. I'm probably sure that those 5 stars are linked with some fancy butler level suite at any one of the multitude of Sandals resorts in the Caribbean, but I'm not convinced that Sandals is a 5-star resort. If you've ever traveled to a 5-star resort in the Far East, or even visit one of the 5-star hotels here in the UK or Ireland, you will know what 5-star really is. And I'm sorry, guys, I dispute that Sandals is a 5-star resort. And that really came through this year on our arrival. Every time Fiona and I have arrived at Sandals in the past, we've been welcomed with a hot or a cold towel. That didn't happen this year. Quite frankly, when we arrived at Sandals Grande Antigua, there was a little bit of chaos. We weren't met off the bus for the first time. We were taken to an overcrowded Club Sandals lounge, and we had to hang around for probably what was more than an hour before we were showed to a room, and other guests were left waiting even longer. Guests that even travelled to Sandals more than Fiona and I. And therefore, I've got to say that I absolutely dispute Sandals being a 5-star vacation, but it doesn't stop Fiona and I going back, and I want to make that absolutely clear. Fiona and I love Sandals, but it's not perfect. And that is why Donna and Michael have chosen not to go back. Sandals Grande Antigua was their favourite resort until this year, but as you saw at the beginning of our video in part 1, which you will see again in a minute if you decide to watch the full motion picture, that Donna and Michael were badly let down. They had booked 12 months previous, when we were at Sandals Grenada, a specific room. It was a Caribbean beach view room. And when they arrived, it was clear there was confusion at Sandals Grande Antigua. Their room wasn't available. They were moved to a rendezvous, which Sandals saw as an upgrade, but if they really knew their customers, they would understand that Donna and Michael are beach people. They booked a room overlooking the beach, and that frustrates me about Sandals. They just threw that room together. They thought it was a great thing. It was going to be a surprise for Donna and Michael, but it's the little things that define a 5-star resort. And I'm afraid for Donna and Michael, Sandals got it completely wrong. But for Fiona and I, we got the room that we booked. We were extremely happy. The room wasn't perfect. The shower was pathetic, is the word I think I used in the video. But it hasn't stopped us going back next year. Okay, let's talk about the restaurants at Sandals Grande Antigua. They were just the usual Sandals restaurants. We are not fish people, so we didn't try soy. The Kimonos restaurant, we really enjoyed at the Talk in St. Lucia, not so much at the other Sandals resorts, so we didn't visit that one. If you were to ask us what was our favourite restaurant, I think Fiona would absolutely say the Bayside, which was a French restaurant by night, and the buffet breakfast by morning. The French restaurant at Sandals Grenada was also our favourite restaurant at Grenada, so not surprising that Fiona chose the Bayside as her favourite restaurant at Sandals Grande Antigua. The most disappointing restaurant was the OK Corral. That's billed as a Tex-Mex restaurant, and the food presentation actually looked okay, but the short ribs that I ordered were just so fatty. They were cold. It wasn't great. And the one big letdown about the OK Corral, it's overlooking the courtyard on the Caribbean side. There was a show on. It was so noisy that Donna, Michael, Fiona and I couldn't actually communicate with ourselves, and that was pretty frustrating. And in fact, we didn't wait for dessert. We got up from the OK Corral that night, we left and we went through to the Mediterranean courtyard to Paris for some gorgeous coffee and cakes. And yes folks, Paris was probably our favourite, I wouldn't say restaurant, because it is a cafe, but the cakes were just incredible, and I recommend anyone visiting Sandals Grande Antigua to go to Paris like we did on a daily basis. Listen folks, I didn't get looking this big by not eating cakes or drinking beer or just loving food like you get at Sandals Grande Antigua. Mario's, the Italian restaurant, was also pretty good. Most Sandals have an Italian restaurant, and yes guys, Mario's was pretty well as good as any of the others we visited at other Sandals resorts. The one thing I would have liked Sandals Grande Antigua to have that it didn't was a Butch's. Butch's at Grenada was incredible. The steaks were absolutely fantastic, and I think Fiona and I would like to have seen a Butch's at Sandals Grande Antigua. It wasn't there, and yeah, we missed it. We didn't eat in Eleanor's. When I go on vacation, or when I should say Fiona and I go on vacation, we're going for some downtime. We live very busy lives. You need to live a busy life to afford to go to Sandals every year. In fact, we booked to go twice in 2020, and I don't want to get dressed up to go out for dinner. I want to stay in my shorts. In fact, if I never had to take a long pair of trousers with me on holiday, that would be the holiday for me. And Eleanor's which was mainly a fish restaurant, also had a dress code, and therefore we didn't book, and therefore we didn't visit Eleanor's. The Drunken Duck, the English style pub, we did eat there one night. The food was okay. It's what you would expect from the English gastropubs that Sandals call them across their the resorts in the Caribbean. It was good. I think if Fiona and I go back next year to the Grande Antigua, we'll probably try a few different food options on the menu. Sandals Grande Antigua is not our favourite food resort. That has to go to Sandals Resorts Grenada. For a foodie like Fiona and I, that was probably the best resort for food. But guys, you can't take away from the beach. The beach defines Sandals Grande Antigua. The resort is beautiful, and the restaurants and food are just part of our overall vacation. Before wrapping up and going on to the full motion picture, I do want to talk about the elephant in the room. There are a lot of complaints about Sandals Grande Antigua on their fans' website, or sorry, should I say the fans' Facebook page, and focusing on the lack of service from staff. I really want to make it clear that Fiona and I have always rated very highly the staff and the service you get at Sandals. There of course is the 1% of staff that probably shouldn't be working in the service industry. Never mind what is billed as a 5-star resort, and you're going to get them in any resort. It doesn't matter if it's Gleneagles here in Scotland at hundreds and hundreds of pounds a night, or if it is a Sandals resort in the Caribbean. You are going to get a very small minority of staff who are rubbish. And yeah, we saw a few of them this year at Antigua, but I want to be absolutely clear, 99% of the Sandals staff that we met at the Grande Antigua were fantastic. They were superb, and they made our vacation the vacation that it was. So thank you, Sandals. Thank you to your staff at the Grande Antigua. You are wonderful, and in fact, it's one of the reasons we have currently booked, to go back in October 2020. I'm more than happy to answer any questions. If you're thinking about going to Sandals Grande Antigua or any of the Sandals resorts that Fiona and I have visited over the last 7 years, just go to our Facebook page at Liv'n the Dream page. It's simple as that. I've put a note on that here on the screen. Send us a message, an IM, and one of us will be delighted to respond to you, answer any of your questions on Sandals Grande Antigua. Okay, I'm going to move to the full motion picture. If you have watched part 1 to part 3 of our Antigua 19 diary, you'll probably want to switch off now and watch something else on YouTube. But Michael, you wanted this, you asked for it again this year. For you, here is my attempt at stitching together Antigua 19 part 1 to part 3, our vacation diary. Enjoy. Graham,
Liv'n.
whatever.
Liv'n the dream.
Liv'n the dream. Is that my big fat belly? Is it hanging over? No.
No, you're fine.
So where are you going to today?
The airport. And then onto a plane to Antigua.
And where are you going to in Antigua?
Sandals.
Sandals. So that Sandals 2019 begins today.
Too many days in the darkness.
On the Friday night, Saturday morning, Fiona and I stayed at our usual airport hotel at London Gatwick's South Terminal, and that was the Hilton South Terminal, no less.
I see you broken and beat, head pulled down over your eye.
As you can imagine, folks, you will never see me dead in a hotel gym, especially when we were less than 10 minutes walk from the British Airways business class check-in, and that meant accessing, 5 minutes after that, the lounge where champagne and bacon rolls were in order.
Open your heart, spend less time in your head. With every star, we are born again. Open your heart, spend less time in your head.
BA have a dedicated Club World and first class check-in area. at Gatwick South Terminal, so Fiona and I headed directly there. And very unusual for a Saturday morning in October, the queues to check in weren't too bad at all. Well done, British Airways.
In the garden, you will grow to be tall.
Check-in complete and our cases heading for the aircraft. It was time for Fiona and I to make our way to security and then to the BA lounge for that first champagne of the day.
We can watch the sunrise. Just a couple of bruised up souls that believe that it was worth one more try.
Travelling in the BA Club World cabin meant that Fiona and I had access to the priority security lane.
Open your heart and spend less time in your head. With every star, we are born again. Open your heart.
Through security and en route to the BA lounge. As you can imagine, the lure of duty free was simply too much for Fiona to pass up. Of course, a seat with a view was mandatory for that well-earned first glass of champagne. Yes, drink up, Fiona, because the aircraft is boarding, but don't worry, because there'll be plenty more champagne when you get down to the plane. We finally caught up with Donna and Michael, fantastic friends that we first met at Sandals Grande back in 2017, and friends who we'd be spending the next 7 days with at Sandals Grande Antigua. Those of you who follow this channel on YouTube will already know that despite the British Airways Club World cabin being a 20-year-old product, I actually quite like it. And in fact, this was the recently refurbished British Airways Club World cabin. And this meant much nicer corporate colours, better in-flight entertainment, better screens, and even power sockets and USB sockets that work. So what are you having for lunch?
Beef.
Beef or chicken?
I'm going to
So what's on the
have
menu?
starters, smoked Scottish salmon with a crab timbale gremolata dressing, or classic buffalo mozzarella, sun-blushed tomato, pesto dressing with pea shoots, or creamed sweet corn soup with chive creme fresh and pea shoots, Adam Graham's choice. As an alternative to butter, olive oil is available upon request. Please ask your crew. Salad is a fresh seasonal salad served with vinaigrette.
Ladies and gentlemen, we will shortly be interrupting the High Life entertainment to brief you on
For your main course, you can have roasted breast of masala chicken with, I'm not sure how you pronounce it, kitchdi rice, onion bhaji and masala sauce, or, which is Graham's choice by the way, seared fillet of steak with creamed horseradish mashed potatoes, mushrooms, port wine jus, or tagliatelle pasta with rosary goat's cheese volute and sun-blushed tomatoes. For your desserts and cheese, you may have a lemon and lime slice, selection of fresh seasonal berries, yum, yum, yum. Warm dolce la leche mixed nut tart with creme anglaise, or a cheese board, that would be my choice, with tea, specialty coffee. If you wish to maximise your rest and work time on the flight, please select a starter, dessert and your drink reference, and a crew member will deliver this to you. Later on in the flight, you can have afternoon
Boarding
tea.
is now completed.
Sandwiches, scones and hummus, and a chocolate tiffin cake.
That's
However,
exciting.
They have now started to do cocktails, which we haven't had in the past. So we're going to work our way down the not the mocktails, but the cocktails. Ginseng, cranberry blush and a Johnny Ginger.
So you're going to have all the cocktails?
Not sure about the whiskey one, but I might try it. You could always order it, I could taste it and see if I like it.
Okay. So I ordered the special, as I thought, which was the chicken masala, which is supposed to be the British Airways signature dish. Sitting comfortably for the next 8 hours in seats 15A and 15B. The in-flight safety video by Comic Relief watched, completed. We were soon en route to runway 26, left at Gatwick Airport. Next stop, VC Bird International in Antigua. I did something on this flight that I've never done before on British Airways, and I pre-ordered my lunch. To be honest, I needn't have bothered because this fantastic chicken tikka masala, which has become, or should I say, I believe has become the British Airways signature dish, was available on today's lunchtime menu anyway. I have to admit, it was really tasty. Add this to watching Bohemian Rhapsody, and Live Aid, a throwback from my youth, certainly set off the first 2 hours of this fantastic flight across the Atlantic to Antigua. Now this is where I'm going to have to apologise, because if you thought the window was dirty as we were leaving London Gatwick 8 hours later and on descent into Antigua's VC Bird International Airport, the camera simply wanted to focus on the dirt rather than what was happening outside the window. And safely on the ground in Antigua, we taxied into what was an extremely modern looking terminal, next to the Virgin Atlantic Airbus A330, which had recently also arrived from London Gatwick, and also an American Airlines 737, which had just arrived from Miami. On leaving the aircraft, of course, British Airways had to tease us all by walking us through first class. If you'd like to see what first class is like in British Airways, look back to Fiona's and my trip to St Lucia in 2014, when we were lucky enough to be upgraded to first class on the route out to our Sandals experience at the Grand St Lucia. VC Bird International Airport in Antigua was a very modern and clean airport terminal. They even had live music welcoming the millions of tourists that arrive in this island each year. However, I can't let you hear it in fear of the YouTube copyright police banning this video. And as we entered the immigration hall, it was a pleasant surprise to see plenty of booths open and government agents ready to stamp our passports with a smile and get our vacation underway here in Antigua. Finally reunited with our bags, it was time to catch up with Donna and Michael again, who I think had got stuck in duty free in the arrival zone. Unlike St Lucia, Sandals does not have an arrival lounge at the airport, so we made our way outside to the Sandals booth, which I have to admit was very chaotic and slow. Yes folks, as usual, I called shotgun, jumped into the front passenger seat for the 15 minutes transfer between VC Bird International and Sandals Grande Antigua. And I'm afraid folks, this is where it all started to go wrong. For the first time in 7 years, we were not met off the transport from the airport. We were not offered cold towels and we were left wondering where to go. However, looking bemused and lost, a Sandals agent finally met us and escorted us the short distance to the Sandals Club Lounge for check-in. But I have to admit folks, that was no better when we got there. A lack of iPads and staff unable to cope with a flight of passengers just in from London and Miami meant our check-in process took more than an hour. Not good enough, Sandals, I'm afraid. Until 2019, Sandals Grande Antigua was Donna and Michael's favourite resort, but it was clear as we left the club lounge heading for our rooms it was about to get much worse for Michael and Donna. Donna and Michael are beach people, so 12 months ago at Sandals Grenada they pre-booked a beach view club level room which clearly they were not going to get. Rather than owning up to their mess, Sandals thought they could easily sneak Donna and Michael into an upgraded room, a rendezvous which was nowhere near the beach and certainly not what Donna and Michael wanted on their holiday at their favourite Sandals resort. This was Donna and Michael's 9th or 10th trip to Sandals. They are loyal Sandals Select guests, so you would think that Sandals would have made an effort to understand their loyal customers and the fact that Donna and Michael were beach people. But oh no, Sandals really screwed up this time. I promise folks this video isn't going to turn into a Sandals moaning session, because Fiona and I left Donna and Michael unhappy heading for the Sunset Bluff and our room, which was exactly the room Fiona and I booked. And this was our room for the next 7 nights. Room 808 is Sunset Bluff Walkout Club level. And this, folks, is Woodadley, the local beer. Yes, it was awesome. Fantastic. I loved it. In Antigua, Bob Marley cocktails are known as reggae tops. And after a few of these, and then dinner with Donna and Michael at Mario's, the Italian restaurant, it's time to bring day one and our trip report from Liv'n to Sandals Grande Antigua to a close. If you hadn't worked it out already, this is Fiona's and my vacation diary from our October 2019 vacation to Sandals Grande Antigua. We therefore start on day one, Sunday, the first full day of our Sandals 2019 holiday. And the best place to start is a short walk from our room 808 at the Sunset Bluff down to Bayside for breakfast. And this is a good time to remind you that Fiona and I now have a Facebook page to go along with our YouTube channel. Simply go to Facebook at Liv'n the Dream page. The Sunset Bluff pool is situated in the Caribbean side of Sandals Grande Antigua, but actually it's in between the Caribbean side and the Mediterranean side, so a great location if you want to visit either side of this fantastic resort that is Sandals Grande Antigua. As you can see, the short walk taking only 5 minutes from our room to the Bayside, which is situated just off the courtyard in the main congregational area of the Caribbean side of Sandals Grande Antigua, takes us through these fantastic manicured gardens. I plan to do a full resort and room tour in part 4 of this Antigua 19 series. And this morning, on day one of our Sandals Grande Antigua vacation, Fiona and I decided to take a detour to the beach. And why not? Because I have to say that the beach at Sandals Grande Antigua defines this fantastic resort. It is one of the nicest beaches I've ever visited. This video was taken at around 8 AM in the morning, so of course the beach was going to be quiet. But I have to say that I didn't think the beach ever really got that busy. There's plenty of seats if the beach is your thing. And here we are, approaching what is known as the Caribbean side courtyard area, where you will find restaurants like Eleanor's, the Bayside, and just upstairs, the OK Corral, along with the piano bar. On our first morning, like every morning except one, Fiona and I dine for breakfast at the Bayside. In the evening, the Bayside becomes the most fantastic French restaurant. In fact, watch out, because later on I'll be showing you some of the food we had that very Sunday night, our first night at the Sandals Grande Antigua.
Hold on, we built this ship together, searching for a home. Despite the storm that hit us, we're still on board, dancing in the moonlight.
As I said earlier, in the morning the Bayside is a buffet style breakfast restaurant, and in the evening a French style a la carte restaurant. Fiona and I tried Mario's, the Italian restaurant, once for breakfast, but for some reason we kept coming back to the Bayside. It was probably the beach that did it. It was an awesome place to sit and have breakfast each day.
If you're about to break,
After breakfast, Fiona and I decided to continue exploring this incredible resort that is Sandals Grande Antigua. We started here at the main pool, which is situated in the Mediterranean side of the resort.
you're about to break, I always be your captain. I'll be your captain. I always be your captain.
As you can see, just behind the main pool is the main Mediterranean resort block. And situated between the main pool and the Mediterranean block are these incredibly well manicured, looked after gardens.
You told me I'm your anchor, I told you you're my pole. Through the wind and fire we tried, hold on.
And this, folks, is Mario's, the Italian restaurant. A breakfast buffet restaurant in the morning, an a la carte Italian restaurant at night. And next to Mario's is a fantastic pizzeria, where you can enjoy a pizza for lunch along with drinks, or even order to go.
If you're about to break, I always be your captain. From our failures we have grown. You said just keep holding on. If you're about to break, I always be.
And next door to Mario's is the Drunken Duck, an English-style pub. And just across from the Drunken Duck is the stage where there's evening entertainment most nights. There's also a stage in the courtyard area within the Caribbean side of the resort where there's also entertainment most nights. And this leads to the second courtyard area situated between the Mediterranean and Caribbean sides of the resort. Here you will find the Paris Cafe, resort shop, Colombian emeralds, the photographic shop, and of course the soon come back office. And where you find Colombian emeralds, you will always find Fiona. I do think my wife was a magpie in a previous life, lured by anything and everything shiny. Because this was Fiona's and my first trip to Sandals Grande Antigua, it was only right that we did the Club Sandals orientation walk around the resort. In fact, I'm going to use this orientation walk as the basis for my resort tour set for part 4. I'm therefore only going to provide some snippets of this walk now and come back to it in part 4. And here we are, approaching the spa and the gym. And the first stop will be the spa. And here we are, entering the gym. But if you'd watched part 1 of Antigua 19, you will know how much I love gyms not. Right, let's head past Club Sandals and back into the Caribbean courtyard, where if you'd watched part 1 of Antigua 19 you would have seen this is where the bus dropped us off, arriving from the airport. Now, I'm not a fan of any caged animal, never mind these gorgeous caged birds who've had their wings clipped and can't fly anymore. So let's just move on to the courtyard stage area, next to Eleanor's The Bayside, below the OK Corral and the piano bar. And of course, where you'll also find the lunchtime snack bar. And of course the stage where you will find evening entertainment most nights. This is Eleanor's, mainly a fish restaurant and the only restaurant with a dress code that we could find at Sandals Grande Antigua. And Eleanor's is situated right next to the beach bar. And with this particular piece of video being taken at around 11 AM, you can see the beach has started to get slightly busier. And here we are once again entering the Mediterranean side of the resort. I promise folks I will use this orientation walk to do a full resort tour in part 4 of my Antigua 19 series. And this is us heading back into the tunnel that leads to the Caribbean courtyard and the living room where our orientation tour ended. And as you'll understand, walking, doing the orientation tour in 98 degrees is thirsty work. So it was time for Fiona and I to head back to the beachside bar for some of these fantastic reggae tops. After a fantastic lunch at Barefoot on the Beach with Donna and Michael, it was time to head back to the Caribbean village because Donna and Michael had a room to move into, or should I say a new room to move into, the room that they booked, a Caribbean beach view club level room. This was room 120, and it was exactly what Donna and Michael had booked 12 months ago at Sandals Grande, and the room they should have got when we all checked in last night. Better late than never, Sandals. Well done for organising. Leaving Donna and Michael to finally get unpacked, it was time for Fiona and I to head to the pool bar for yet another cocktail.
My ideas of having fun until you came my way. Didn't want me to change. Love me, just for me, enjoy my parade. You're my kind of crazy. You set my soul so free. And this might sound kind of hasty, but
However, it was clear that Donna was doing all the unpacking. And as the sun began to set, it was time for Fiona and I to open a bottle of champagne and watch the sun go down over the Sunset Bluff pool. Well, that was before Donna, Michael, Fiona and I headed to the Bayside for a fantastic French cuisine. And we finished our first full day at Sandals Grande Antigua in the piano bar.
smile, my crazy pills. This insanity, it whispers to me that you are my sweetest reality. You're trying me.
Monday and day 2 of our Sandals Grande Antigua vacation, and you'd find Fiona and I having breakfast in the Bayside. According to Siri, the weather was looking very questionable that morning, so Donna and Michael appeared and suggested we went into St John's to do some shopping. Great, I thought to myself. However, Michael sold it to me. The girls can go shopping, while we can go and drink beer. What can go wrong? While I booked a taxi, Donna and Michael played pool. Now this is where I should tell you that these guys have a little wager. If Donna beats Michael 3 times in a row at pool, she gets to buy diamonds on Michael's credit card. Given that Michael's pool was on form this morning, and let's just say Donna's wasn't, I think he was pretty safe. Right guys, the taxi is here. Time to head into St. John's. And as you can see, during our 15-minute drive from Sandals Grande Antigua into St. John's city centre, Siri had got the weather spot on. For those of you visiting the Sandals Grande Antigua and would like to get a taxi into St. John's, it was very easy. We booked it at the Club Sandals desk and it cost $20 return plus a tip. We were dropped off at what is known as the duty-free zone, just right next to where the cruise liners come in, but thank goodness, not today. And true to his word, the girls went shopping while Michael and I enjoyed some more Woodadleys while it rained outside. However, our peace and quiet was short-lived because the rain drove the girls back to the bar to join us. On the plus side, my American Express card got a breather, but on the downside, the girls also wanted to try the local beer. Decision number 2 today was either to eat in St. John's or head back to Sandals and take advantage of our all-inclusive package, which of course we did, going straight to Barefoot on the beach for more drinks and lunch. And despite Michael being on form at pool, it was clear that Donna had other ideas, dragging him into Colombian Emeralds before lunch. Feeling the after effects of far too much food and obviously alcohol, it was time to head back to the room and prepare to do nothing for the rest of the afternoon by the swimming pool. So I used this opportunity to prepare the room review, which I promise I'll be bringing in episode 4 of this Antigua 19 series. So this is our room 808, which is a Sunset Bluff walkout club level room. For those of you who are used to Sandals, this room is pretty standard. What I do have to say is compared to St. Lucia or Grenada, the showers in these rooms were pretty pathetic, but I was told that this was pretty standard across Sandals Grande Antigua. The showers were far from power showers. As you can see, the mini bar was well stocked. On top of the usual beer and soft drinks, we ordered a bottle of gin, a bottle of champagne and a bottle of white wine, which were kept refreshed by the great team at Club Sandals. Again, for those of you who are regular Sandals visitors, you will come to expect their incredibly comfy beds. In Grande Antigua, you will not be disappointed. The bed here was also extremely comfortable, even if Fiona needed a step to get in and out of it. And this is why we picked this particular room, with direct access to the Sunset Bluff pool. Later on Monday afternoon, Fiona and I went to one of those Sandals open houses where you go to look at a premium room. I've no idea what room it was, but as you can see, it was right by the beach, where Fiona and I headed next for a walk, of course with a cocktail in hand. And one of the objectives of our beach walk was to catch up with Donna and Michael, because we had this idea to set the GoPro up on their balcony to try and catch the awesome sunset. This was the first attempt. We will do better, I promise. And as if we hadn't had enough to eat and drink today, we finished Monday night at the Drunken Duck. Tuesday And day 3 of our Sandals Grande Antigua vacation started early for me on the beach, preparing the introductions for these videos while Fiona snoozed in bed. However, as I returned to the room, I found that Fiona was sporting exactly the same t-shirt as me, the 2019 Sandals returning guest t-shirt. Yes folks, today Fiona and I would be matching. How cool was that? Not. We also decided to have a break from the Bayside for breakfast this morning, and we would head to Mario's, Italian restaurant by night, buffet restaurant by morning. And this is where Fiona got rather excited, spotting these 2 enormous bottles of red wine. Fiona, it's breakfast. Drink comes after 12. To be honest, Mario's, just like the Bayside, is a buffet-style breakfast restaurant. The thing was, Bayside had the view, and of course that gorgeous beach. Mario's didn't. And this is why Fiona and I only ate in Mario's this morning. For the rest of our vacation, we went to the Bayside every morning for breakfast. I want to be clear, there is nothing wrong with Mario's, but for us, the Bayside just had that little extra. And of course, that great beach. After breakfast at Mario's, Fiona, of course, had to look into that store on the way back to our room. After breakfast, it was time to relax beside the pool for a few hours. And after lazing around the pool for a few hours, we'd built up quite an appetite. So today, Fiona and I decided to try pizza. Of course, that included the obligatory wine and beer. When in Sandals, it would have been rude not to.
Have fun.
One Tuesday afternoon, Michael and I had arranged to go snorkeling, so we agreed to meet at the water sports centre. This was actually quite funny. Sandals could have brought the boat slightly closer to the shore, and it felt like I was watching that movie, Saving Private Ryan, without, of course, being shot at. I had no idea how this was going to go today. At Christmas, Fiona had bought me a brand new snorkel mask with an adapter for my GoPro. So I guess, whichever way I'm looking, so will the GoPro. Let's go and see if we can spot any fish. In conclusion, I thought the GoPro actually worked quite well. However, with the recent rain, the water had been churned up, so the visibility, I guess, was not that great. Anyway, time to head back to Sandals. I think Michael and I had earned the right for another drink. And here we go again, Saving Private Ryan without the bombs and bullets.
I'll wait to see your golden smile, feel of 1,000 kisses. Oh, please stay a while. I'll reach up to hold.
And where did we go for that drink? Well, we met the girls at the Quiet Swim Up bar. However, looking at the mood that they were in, I guessed that they had been drinking for some time already.
In your warm embrace. Oh, I hope this feeling lasts till the oceans turn to glass and the world around us turns and fades to black. Together we'll hold back the sun in this moment forever young. Against the stream of time we'll run, baby. We'll hold back the sun. This feeling moves me every single day. I'm captured by your charm.
On Tuesday night, Donna, Michael, Fiona and I had booked to go to the OK Corral. The OK Corral is billed as a Tex-Mex restaurant, and while you do need to reserve a table, there is no dress code. Donna and Michael had said this restaurant was one of their favourite during their last trip to Sandals Grande Antigua. So we also booked OK Corral for Friday night, our last night of this holiday. However, after this first visit, we cancelled Friday night and chose to go to the Bayside instead. First of all, there was a live band playing on the courtyard stage, so we could barely hear ourselves breathe, never mind hold a conversation. Next, the food was cold, and in fact it was prepared pretty poorly. To be honest, I think we were all so disappointed. And as a result, we didn't even stay for dessert, instead choosing to leave this restaurant and head to Paris in the Mediterranean courtyard for coffee and cake.
When the sun goes down and the world spins round, when I lay right next to you, I can't close my eyes even though I try. These perfect.
And when Fiona and I had arrived back in a room, the Club Sandals team had decorated our bed and left us this gorgeous chocolate cake. I guess that it is these small things that define Sandals. Wednesday morning and day 4 at Sandals Grande Antigua saw Fiona and I heading back to the Bayside for breakfast. Except this morning, we took the alternative route. me like every time you walk somewhere different around this incredibly well manicured resort that is Sandals Grande Antigua, you find another little gem, another hideaway pool, and the longer I stayed at this resort, the more I fell in love with it.
And I know just what to say. And I know just what to do. And I'm so sick of pain. But it's all too quick with you. Losing this game, I can't afford to be losing this game. And I know you're the safest bet. Losing my mind, can't find the words, no, I can't seem to find. But I'm really trying to get reason, rhyme, and take our time and choose whether we green or yellow, whether we deep or shallow. Please me now, 'cause we're about to.
And of course this was why Fiona and I loved coming to the Bayside for breakfast each morning. And who could blame us? This beach is absolutely gorgeous.
Want a little bit of gasoline, burned out, so to speak. Come a little closer.
To be honest, Wednesday was a gorgeous day. Fiona and I decided to laze around the pool, have lunch, and all without the camera. However, in the afternoon we decided to attend another open house. And this time a room that was billed as the best room on site, the best room in Sandals Grande Antigua, a room that was in the Mediterranean side of the resort, and a room that actually, what it cost for 1 week, Fiona and I were able to get 2 trips to Sandals in 2020.
Losing my mind, can't find the words, no, I can't seem to find. But I'm really trying to get reason, rhyme, and say.
Later on Wednesday afternoon, Fiona and I decided to take a walk along the beach, this time venturing out of the resort itself. Fiona, is that your dad's next project?
Yep, that's it, Dad. To come and rescue this one, rebuild it, sail it back.
I think the story that we were told is this boat belonged to drug runners. They got chased onto the beach a number of years ago by the authorities, and today the boat lies in ruins.
Make amends, but can't go through the same regrets. It could feel so good on mine. Love by love, again. And I know you're the safest bet.
We were now en route back to catch up with Donna and Michael because the sunset looked like it was going to be absolutely gorgeous, and therefore Michael and I wanted to have another go at setting up the GoPro on time-lapse, and this is what we got this time, and I have to admit it looks a lot better than the first time.
When your heart is full of nothing at all and your body runs, you forgot what for. Your eyes reflect light from a fire that is gone, and your feet are the only things that drag you along. When you're low on love, it's too high from it. When the words they said were the stones and sticks buried in a cage 100 miles underground. When the rubble is falling, you'll be singing aloud. Don't you feel it now? Your lungs are still breathing in air and out, and your feet are still hitting the ground. So you gotta hold on. You've gotta hold on. You've gotta hold on. The penny drops, you're out of luck. You hold your breath, you get back up when the rain turns to thunder, like a beat of a drum, and you're out.
And here's some photographs that I took from Donna and Michael's balcony while the GoPro did its job.
The key got lost to a door you knew, and the lock will rust, but you follow through and you lose in your balance, 'cause they cut in the wire. Now you're running with scissors, you're a flare to a ride. Don't you feel it?
I fell asleep at night.
Thursday and day 5 of Antigua 19, and it was going to be a quiet one. As usual, Fiona and I started in the Bayside for breakfast, but this morning I left the GoPro and the DJI back in the hotel room safe.
Everything feels so misplaced. The sky is at my feet and the ground above my head. I'm landing
And for lunch we went back to barefoot on the beach.
on flying cars, but I feel like I already know this place. It was the first time our eyes collided. I wish that I could see her face again.
And during late afternoon, our sunbathing by the Sunset Bluff pool was interrupted by a short rain shower. Guys, Antigua is in the tropics, so you've got to expect some rain every day. However, there clearly were some hardy souls who decided they were wet anyway, so they might as well stay in the pool. For me, Fiona made a cup of coffee and I got on with some video editing. I did tell you Thursday and day 5 was going to be a short one because Fiona and I brought the day to a close at the Drunken Duck.
Told me how to talk without.
Day 6 and Friday was our last full day at this incredible resort that is Sandals Grande Antigua. I'm an early riser, and while Fiona was therefore snoozing, I headed down to the beach with a GoPro to take some photographs. And here is my montage of photographs from the incredible beach at Sandals Grande Antigua.
So now you're here again, knocking at my door. A little too late for, I'm sorry for. The lights went out cause you kept cutting the cord, and I started to fade into your gray. See, I finally opened up my eyes, and I saw me coming back to life. That I'd be better without you inside. It's time to be someone I wanna recognize. The future starts right now. I made a reservation, but you never came, so I'm checking out. The fire you stole away, I know one day we'll come back around. The future is now. The future is now. The future is now. I waited for you in the passenger seat. There's only so far I can ride in your dreams, while you were chasing everything else but me. I'm starting to break.
And during Friday and our last full day at Sandals Grande Antigua, Fiona and I did our best to enjoy the swimming pool at the Sunset Bluff while dodging the odd rain shower.
Back to life.
And today we ordered pizza to go and enjoyed it at a room at the Sunset Bluff pool.
I wanna recognize.
As most of you who follow this channel know, I had rather a significant birthday this year, and for my birthday, Donna and Michael very kindly bought us all a sunset cruise for 4 on our last full day at Sandals Grande Antigua. This catamaran picked us up from the beach just after 4:30. And after being served drinks and a safety demonstration, in which order I can't remember, we set sail for a tour on the west coast of Antigua ahead of what we hoped would be an incredible sunset. However, the weather this afternoon had not been playing ball, so we weren't sure what we would get as the sun would be setting around 5:30. As we cruise along the west coast of Antigua, I do want to add a personal note here and thank Donna and Michael for this incredible gift. It was a fantastic way to end an incredible day, but most importantly, this touching gift was the highlight of an incredible week with incredible friends at Sandals Grande Antigua. Donna and Michael, I don't know how to thank you, other than to say a massive thank you for this awesome gift. And this is us entering St. John's Harbour, the capital city of Antigua. If you look back to our video on Monday, you will see Michael, Donna, Fiona and I as we visited St. John's and the duty free mall. And this, folks, is the Royalton Hotel and Resort, which I think is owned by the Sunwinds Group and therefore TUI. From what we could see from the boat, it looked like a traditional hotel complex with beach apartments and these fantastic overwater bungalows. Don't get too excited, folks, because Royalton is no substitute for Sandals. It is a family resort and therefore you're going to get rugrats and rowdy teenagers. Lady Luck was clearly on our side tonight. As the sun began to set over St. Kitts to the west of Antigua, the clouds finally gave way to give us what was quite a reasonable sunset. After all, this is why we were at sea this evening. And after the sun had set and we were en route back to Sandals, the catamaran took on more of a party atmosphere. And Friday night is where we're going to leave part 2 of Antigua 19. Join us in part 3 as we enjoy our last day at Sandals Grande Antigua and then make our way back to the airport before crossing the Atlantic and then back to Glasgow. And I'm going to close this video with these official photographs taken by the on-site Sandals photographer. In this video, join Fiona and I as we enjoy what's left of our Sandals Grande Antigua vacation during October 2019. As usual, first thing in the morning you would have found us eating breakfast at the Bayside. Our challenge this year was keeping a room because Sandals continuously refused, not considering their European customers who have got an overnight flight and therefore are checking out late in the afternoon. We were therefore left with no option but to head back to room and start packing based on the fact that we would be checking out at 11 AM and then having to hang around the resort for 5 hours until we were picked up by the taxi to take us back to the airport. Sandals admitted that they had a corporate group coming in from the United States who would be taking over the entire Sunset Bluff complex. Thank goodness we were here this week and not next. And this is where I want to give out a massive thanks to Alex from the Soon Come Back office, because it was Alex that stepped in on our behalf and finally got us a room to spend the next 5 hours in so that we could enjoy the rest of our day here at Sandals, have a shower and then check out feeling fresh, ready for our overnight flight back to London. In saying that, 2 days earlier Alex had persuaded me out of another 10 grand, committing Fiona and I to Sandals Ochi in Jamaica during August 2020 and back here to Sandals Grande Antigua in October 2020. This room was one of Sandals' lower grade rooms, but I have to admit I was really impressed. It was great and I wouldn't have minded staying in this room myself for the last 7 days and 7 nights. Anyway, it was all that Fiona and I required to allow us to enjoy the rest of our day here at Sandals before checking out later on in the afternoon. I think it was around 4 PM. So Fiona and I headed back to the quiet swim-up bar to enjoy a cocktail and relax ahead of our 8-hour transatlantic flight. Time moves so fast when you don't want it to, and here we are, Fiona and I, feeling as depressed as we looked here, getting ready to get on the bus, heading back to the airport for that long journey back to Glasgow. The Sandals staff did sing the goodbye song, but unfortunately my camera developed a problem. Sorry guys. If you're wondering where Donna and Michael are, well, Sandals had arranged a private transfer for them back to the airport. This was Sandals saying sorry to Donna and Michael for the way they were treated a week ago when they arrived at Sandals Grande Antigua. As I said in part 1 of this Antigua 19 series, Antigua VC Bird International Airport is an extremely clean and modern terminal. Fiona and I headed straight to the Clubward check-in area where we met some fantastically friendly, excellent British Airways staff. They managed to change Fiona's and my seating so that we were beside each other on the 8-hour journey back to London. However, they were unable to check us in for our flight from London Gatwick up to Glasgow. I'd been trying to do this for the last 7 days, unsuccessfully. There was clearly a problem, and at this stage we had no idea what that was, other than the flight looked extremely full and even overbooked. Anyway, with Fiona and I checked in, our bags on their way to the aircraft, it was time for Fiona and I to head upstairs to passport control and security before heading to the lounge. And through security it was time to find Michael and Donna. But oh no, there's another one of those Colombian Emerald stores, and guess what? Yep, they're in there. I've rapidly come to the conclusion during this holiday that Fiona and Donna were Magpie sisters in a previous life, driven googly-eyed to anything that sparkles. I had thought that my American Express card and I had got off lightly during this holiday, but yeah, that was to end today when Fiona's Christmas present was purchased. And there you go folks, 2 happy little magpies. Right, time to go to the lounge, cause I definitely need a beer after that purchase. BA simply use the executive lounge at the far right hand corner of Antigua Airport. You share this lounge with all business and first class passengers, so it is going to get very busy ahead of a 777 departing for London. However, this particular lounge had a massive bonus, and that was an outside deck, a plane spotter's heaven. What else could I ask for while waiting to board the flight back to London? I had access to beer, fantastic meatballs, and the smell of Jet A fuel.
But I know what you've been through. I guess you're back. Are you gonna tell me where you went? All the messages I sent with no reply. It's like that.
And here is our British Airways Boeing 777-200ER just arrived from St Kitts, ready to take us off to London in just over 40 minutes time.
Is it even too fine? There are tunes for me, in your memories. Will I slowly lose my
And I just had time to watch this late ATR head to Trinidad and Tobago via Castries in St Lucia.
Why do you always leave? It's not right. We don't fight. But I know what you've been through. But I know what you've been through.
It was finally time to leave the lounge en route to the aircraft.
But I know what you've been through. I might die, day or night. Why do you always leave? It's not right. We don't fight. But I know what you've been through. I guess you're back. Are you gonna tell me where you went? All the messages I sent with no reply. It's like that. You're just gonna walk into my room. I hate how you assume. And I could walk for days, searching for your praise. But is it even there to find? Is there a chance for me to learn your memories? Will I slowly lose my mind? But I know what you've been through.
Teasing us with first class again, it was time for Fiona and I to head back to business class and seats 15H and K. Fiona got her BA jammies on because we were planning to sleep on this flight back to London. I did no vlogging, but because it was so dark outside, there was probably no point anyway. You rejoin us somewhere over Brighton on the south coast of England on approach to runway 26 left at London Gatwick. Our plan this morning was to get through passport control, collect our bags and then head to the British Airways check-in desk to see what was wrong and if we could get our flight to Glasgow. The flight was overbooked, but there was no problem getting seats. Donna and Michael got an upgrade to Club Europe and Fiona and I were somewhere down the back around 17 or 19. Our focus now was to get to the hotel, get into bed in our cabin and have a few hours sleep before we boarded a flight back to Glasgow. We first used the hotel at Gatwick South Terminal last year en route back from Grenada, and it was a great way to kill the 5 or 6 hours we had between landing in Gatwick and leaving again for Glasgow. rested, showered, fed and watered at Witherspoons, at Gatwick South Terminal, it was time for Fiona and I to board the Airbus bound for Glasgow. Fiona and I have a laugh to ourselves when we can see thousands of wind turbines, because that can only mean one thing, that we're near South Lanarkshire and home. And this is where we bring Antigua 19 Part 3 to a close. In the next video, I plan to do a resort and room tour, the two most popular videos that we ever produce when we visit Sandals in the Caribbean. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, and remember to follow Fiona and I on Facebook at Liv'n the Dream page. Thanks for watching.